Rise and shine as we get ready to build more to the proving grounds today in Dragon Quest Builders 2. Now, Dragon Quest Builders 2 builds off the original Dragon Quest Builders, improving many elements and adding its own spin to some things and themes and ideas. So, let's first go over the general gist. If you're not familiar with the Builders side games of Dragon Quest, they're basically Dragon Quest's equivalent of Minecraft. And I found the first quite interesting, but there were some minor flaws and things that, especially if you were hardcore into Minecraft, may have considered a bit bothersome. So let's get into it. So what are some of the changes they did between 1 and 2? Well, you can have party members in 2, well, in Builders 1, they will essentially only through the progression of the storyline. On top of that, you also have first-person mode, which is something that was not an option in Dragon Quest Builders 1. This allows you to easily manipulate what you're looking at and what you want to interact with a lot easier if you're more used to how Minecraft is in a first-person perspective. But you can also keep the third person, and you can easily switch between the two. Because, like I said, I liked the third person. It just didn't do very well in tight, cramped areas if you, digged into a mountain and such. So, if the situation calls for it, you can easily swap in the first person back as necessary. Now, there is something to note with the third and first person. Now, you can get monster allies to join you later in the storyline of the game, and different monsters can actually let you ride them, and when you ride them, it is first third perspective. There is no first person perspective when riding a monster mount. So, other than that, you can always be in first person, and there are a few times where you are forced to get on a monster in a few portions of the story, but it's definitely not anything you couldn't handle. On top of that, they added some interesting new ways of travel. If you're familiar with Dragon Quest II, you know one of the staple items that appeared in some of the older Dragon Quest games was a cape that allowed you to glide and fly around. This is actually in Builders 2, as Builders 2 takes place during the events of Dragon Quest II. However, it's unknown whether it's through the alternate timeline that Dragon Quest Builders 1 takes place in, or whether it's its own timeline, its own alternate timeline. I would imagine it probably takes place in original Builders alternate timeline, but it's, as far as I know, never really confirmed, as I never saw anything or references to the events of the first Builders, so that's a little up in the air. But yeah, you can get the magic cape from 2. It allows you to just bust out the cape, and you can slowly glide across wide gaps and such. Very nice. Yes, yes. They added some new tools too, like there was a flute, which again is another nod to Dragon Quest II that you use that can locate materials for you. So you can get an idea, play it, and be like, oh, there's materials that be found in this direction. There were a few story opportunities that are used with the flute as well, but that's, as you progress through the story in that. Now, they also changed your sword in Dragon Quest Builders 1, you had to switch to your sword between your hammer and stuff. Your sword has its own dedicated button this time, so you no longer have to worry about switching between your hammer and sword in that regards. Though you can still use your hammer as a weapon, and there are even some enemies that actually take massive damage from the hammer alone, which is actually an interesting idea that I don't feel like was done too much with it, as there's I think only 3 enemies I ever came across that take massive damage from the hammer. But, still a nice little nod. Some other ideas they also did different is each portion of the storyline as you deal with different areas that are in ruins. They made these unique events where all the NPCs of those areas get like a big building segment. So that's a nice little thing because you and all these characters build these huge structures during these events, and it really makes it feel very team build friendly. So it's a very interesting idea instead of always leaving it to you to 100% do everything. And considering a few of the structures' size, it would have probably took a long time to do by yourself. So, but it's a fun little segments in each of the portions of the game. Now, some major changes that were done. Now, the original game was broken up into chapters, and things did not carry over between chapter to chapter, and it had this completely separate mode that allowed other player structures to be summoned in these plots of land, but this side mode was essentially where everything you learned could be used to build whatever you want. It wasn't very popular. It had no real co-op other than basically being able to summon structures from someone else's version, and that was it, really. So some people viewed that as a pretty miss. So they definitely took that criticism to heart to improve on that. While there is still kind of a chapter type system, it's certainly not in the way that Builders 1 did it. It is on your own pace, and how it works is essentially you get stranded on an island, and this island acts as your hub. The island is also where you can play co-op, as they did add actual co-op into this game. However, you can only do building in co-op on your hub island. You cannot do story-related stuff with friends, so that's all single player mode. But you can bring friends to your main island, and you can all build, destroy, and cause chaos to your heart's content on it. Which, if you, love Minecraft, is definitely a huge improvement over the original, as you couldn't do that. Now, from your hub island, you will be able to progress the story and go to other islands that are single player and progress the story forward. This is a big plus for people who want to play together, as you couldn't in the original, so it's very good plus, very good plus. But I would have liked it if maybe you could have done some of the story or something, maybe with a friend, but, it's not the end of the world. I mean, that's a bit of a subjectiveness. I can also see an argument of leaving that single player at the same time, but that's subjective. On top of that, there were many new recipes, of course, and a very much more organized system of looking at everything you have. As in the original, you would be locked out of carrying recipes to another chapter. What this game does is, if you go to a new island, it basically does have its locked system of what you do and don't have the right to make on that island. But everything you learn there carries over back to the hub island, or when you explore random islands, which is something you get a little later in the game. So you have much more freedom to do with things that you create and be able to carry over. And also, gear. Gear was also chapter subjective in the original Builders. All your gear is brought with you throughout the game. So if you want to use a sword from the early game at the late game, you can do so. If you found a really kick-ass accessory on the first story island, and you want to use it all the way to the end, you can. So everything progressively gets carried with you, so it doesn't feel like everything's just dropped and resetted like every chapter in the first Builders. Now, story-wise, as I said, it's taking place during Dragon Quest II, likely in the Builders 1 alternate timeline, but again, like I said, doesn't technically go into the details that you are a builder who's fleshly captured by monsters on a boat, and you're sailing off to your ill fate. Now, the monsters talk about a strange occurrence of the events going on in the world. Mayhem pursues, and the ship sinks. You find yourself marooned on an island with a few others, and your journey begins on what to do. And slowly you'll unravel what's going on in the world and what's truly happening. Now, your partner in crime who joins you in this game will... Originally, you will by yourself unless a mission dictated somebody to come with you in Builders 1. The majority of your journey, you have a partner in crime in almost the entirety of the game. Now, he acts as like a bodyguard and fighter while you are the builder, but the two you combine can have a few special attacks and make a wonderful duo team, adding to a interesting theme that overarches through the game between creation and destruction, as the builder represents creation and your friend represents destruction. Now, you may, when you start the game, if you're a long-time Dragon Quest person and specifically played through Dragon Quest 2, might find something slightly suspicious about your friend. And no, I would blame you, but that would be getting into story-related stuff. So we'll talk about that in the spoilers. But needless to say, Dragon Quest 2's plot and such does have a place in Builders 1, but admittedly it takes more of a backseat than Builders 1 did, focusing more on how the Dragon Lord took over the world, where you're more figuring out a mystery of what's going on in the world, as many strange things are confusing when you know the Dragon Quest II timeline of events that happen and what's going on in this game. So many things are left confusing until you get way further in the game. But it leaves a very interesting mystery, which is fun, honestly. Encourages you to keep going forward to figure out what's going on. But outside that, it's a lot of what Builders 1 did, with massive improvements in my opinion. I definitely love the Monster Party members. Like, I think that was a wonderful addition to the game, honestly. If they ever make a Builders 3, ooh, I hope they expand on that more. It's just a bit of a shame the party system becomes more of like a mid-game thing instead of really early in the game. Tiny medals are again in the world. This time you give them to a Happy Hammer or Hermit who will award you new recipes and things upon finding them. Now, most of the tiny medals you have to solve little puzzle building type things, so nothing too crazy there. But overall, it's an enjoyable game. I really liked it. It encourages a lot of exploration like the original does. There's good number of secrets and stuff to be found, and since things carry over, it really just encourages you to explore more, because once you realize the chapter system in the first game, things didn't carry over. To me, that kind of made it like, oh, well, I guess I shouldn't really care about exploring too much, because it's not like I get to keep it for the end. Now, one of my big complaints for Builders 1 was I kind of found the final fight kind of disappointing, and I'm not going to go into the details, but I will say Builders 2's final fight was a tad bit disappointing, but I think it was at least more interesting than the final fight in Builders 1. But overall, I did enjoy the story. The nice additions of co-op in that and improvements to the gameplay are all good. It actually also increased some more better traps. Like, traps were kind of meh in the first one. They introduced some new traps. There's a whole Pacific portion of the game that's really warmongering in that. It's a really good, fun segment, but we'll get into more of that with spoilers. So, what would I recommend for Dragon Quest Builders 2 as price? I think this is a solid $59.99, $60 game. I think this is good value for the full price. You get a good amount of content, lots of encouragement to quit. You got co-op to keep more life in the game, and they even updated with a small little epilogue of well, you get to find out the fate of a few characters from the end of the game. Sadly, it was an update, so it's not on the disc cartridge versions. Maybe if they release a newer version, I would imagine it would be on that, but at this time it's only an update. But it is an incredibly minor epilogue, so it's not anything too mind-bendingly crazy. But I really liked the charm of the number of the characters and the events that happen. Overall, my biggest complaint would just be the bosses are still pretty easy. Especially the last boss. Again, was really handheldy easy, but it was still fun. It's still a very fun and enjoyable game. I could definitely recommend, if you had fun with the original builders, this expands on more ideas of what it did and can do. I would love to see a Builders 3, because as we know with the original Eldritch trilogy, nothing's gone past with 3's timeline. So, since 3 was a prequel, that means if they actually made a sequel that went forward, that would mean we would see future events of this timeline that proceed past Dragon Quest II events, which could be a very interesting idea, but at the same time, they could just do something else. They could just make it completely unrelated to any Dragon Quests, but I would love them to do something. Like, I would want them to continue doing Builders games, because I really actually enjoy them. It's nice having a more story-centric Minecraft experience, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Minecraft, it's just, it gets, every time I play it with anyone, everyone just eventually gets bored, and moseys along, and I never get to finish like any of the bosses or anything, and that always happens. Like, I've probably replayed through Minecraft from over to where everyone quits like probably 7 times, so, and that's obviously burnt me out on Minecraft. So, but those are my thoughts on Dragon Quest Builders 2. So let's get into spoilers, which were interesting. So, you know, your buddy is named the final boss of Dragon Quest II. That's pretty suspicious. Okay, I remember when I saw his name, I was like, wait a minute. I'm like looking it up, and I'm like, wait, that's the final boss of Dragon Quest II's name. What? Well, it becomes growingly more and more obvious that he is indeed the final boss. So you find out through the progression of the story that you're in an illusion that doesn't really exist, and that only you, your friends, and the captain who sails you to islands are the only people who are actually real inside this illusion. Haggard created this illusion to try and trick the Scions, the descendants of Eldritch, from, well, being able to stop him, but whether they got out of it or it never affected them to begin with, which as far as I know is never mentioned in the game specifically, Hedrick, how do you say his damn name? He failed, the Master of Destruction failed, and the world was saved. Which makes a lot of the conversations that happen in the beginning of the game make more sense. But you and the spirit of the Lord of Destruction both wandered into this illusion, and so did Hedrick's soul along with his master, using all of this as an opportunity to still win in the end. He uses the opportunity to let his master's power be built by letting the builder build so the master can have things to destroy, slowly creating a system where the builder is essentially helping his master grow in power. Of course, this leads to a most obvious humane kind of scene where at the end it becomes a fight between his new found humanity or his demon form. When you get to the end of the game, it becomes a pretty interesting show-off between the two's overgrowing personalities in the same being. But I'm getting ahead of myself with some of the other scenarios. So the first scenario is a farm scenario, which really blows the top off of all of Builders 1, and it's just the beginning. The reason it gets really awesome is you rebuild the life tree, and it is just a huge event that just blows all the fucking events that happen in Builders 1 out of the water. And it's the first thing, and it continuously grows nicer and nicer. After the farm, you end up on a mine island, help build the mines. You get to experience having a monster companion with the golem that's there. And man, golems are awesome companions if you want to destroy shit. Ah, man, they destroy so much shit really quick, man. Man, if you want to level up a huge flat area through mountains, boom, get a golem join you. It's awesome. This leads to building a giant bar, and when you get back to your main island, you build a gigantic, it's like the largest structure that the story builds is a gigantic ass fucking pyramid. It's huge, it's awesome. And this gets ran down, sadly, by a completely different event, which is the Moonbook, which is both a really good chapter, but the returning back to your main island event, kinda, because you go to the island, you come back, you do something, so like the farm area, you make a greenery farm field area on your island, you go to the mine, you make a giant pyramid on your island. The castle chapter of Moonbook is interesting, because this is where it starts becoming more evident that you're in an illusion as questions of what's going on and memories and things start internal coughing. and comes to fruition the suspicions of many things. The Moonbook chapter is also really exciting in my opinion, because you build up Moonbook from the ground. It's like in ruins, building traps and defenses, and you get all these gigantic waves of fights and battles and bosses. It's a really awesome chapter when it comes to the combat of the game. Now, what's disappointing is when it comes back to going to your island with new citizens, it is just super disappointing what you build. You do build a castle, which is like, yeah, that seems obvious to build, but it is left hollow. Now, I get the idea they left it hollow, likely to let you customize the innards of the castle. And I get that, but it just seems weird. Like, previously you built this gigantic fucking pyramid that's huge, and then you build like a emptied, shelled castle. But then the story continues, and you lead into the climax of the story, where it becomes revealed that this was all a ploy to bring the Lord of Destruction back into the world of reality. And you go to the final chapter, which is the world between worlds. The world between worlds is, well, a destroyed void between this illusion and the real world. And in this place, you find many of the worshippers of the Master of Destruction questioning their life decisions as, well, you know, the destruction of everything means you die. So many of them are starting to have second thoughts as you tell them you're looking for your friend, because at this time he's taken away so he can be reborn as the true demon master of destruction. So you have to go get your friend back and be like, wake up, you're not evil, you're good inside. And like I said, it brings up a humane scene of fighting between his Demetic and newfound humanity, which is how the game basically ends in fighting Haggard, the Master of Destruction, and then a special fight will, because at this point you made a vehicle that can run over terrain and fly, and you enter the final boss fight where you're flying on this fighting the Master of Destruction. This fight is pretty easy, but considering they made it pretty unique, I do think it was better than what the Dragon Lord fight was in Builders 1, but it still was really easy. But it did build up the hype and everything for the fight, so I give it some points on that. After this, you return to the island with the powers of the Master of Destruction at hand. Using his remaining godlike powers that he has, they create the illusion to become real, because, as I said, everyone else is illusion. Well, there is one other person, Captain Whitebones. He was the captain of the ship you were on at the very beginning of the game. He actually ended up in the world between worlds, so it was technically him too. But everyone else is an illusion, so using the remaining of his powers that he got, they create the illusion to become real. Now, they don't go into great detail on what this means, like, did all these islands become part of the Dragon Quest II world? Or did they literally just create their own universe? This has never really gone into, so it's left to our own thoughts to belief, but it really brings up a lot of questions considering things that Dragon Quest XI brought in, let alone people trying to make a timeline out of many other Dragon Quest storylines or timelines or split timelines. There's so many weird theory crafts when it comes to trying to connect most of these games. This just adds a new little nugget to the whole crazy conspiracies of how you can connect these games. It's like, crap. At this point, if you want the new epilogue, you have to basically complete the entire Builderpedia and do just about everything in the game, and you can unlock the little epilogue. It's very short, nothing too crazy, but it gives a little safe resolution to some of the characters at the end of the game, since the monsters you save fly off in a ship in the final chapter, and they also get the prisoners on a prison island that you also leave behind that didn't originally get resolved. So, you know, it's like, oh yeah, and we wouldn't save them. So it's like, oh, coolio in that. But I really did enjoy Builders 2. I think it's definitely worth a full price, which luckily, of course, being a retailed game, it's not super expensive to get at the moment. Last time I saw it was $39.99, but we'll check here real quick. Now, Builders 2 is on PS4 and Switch. There was no PC version, so... Oh, actually, fuck. No, I take that back. There is a PC version. It's on Steam. I didn't actually know that. Holy crap, when the fuck did that happen? Okay, staying corrected. Oh, actually, apparently, according to at least the Amazon page, it came out December 10th, 2019, so, came out a bit later. Interesting. Anyway, Dragon Quest Builders is on Switch, PS4, and Steam. Now, if you want to look into the PS4 version, which is definitely where you're going to get this game vastly cheaper, you're looking at between like $19 to $30, which is a fantastic deal on the game. However, if you're wanting to look into the Switch version, you're looking to pay a more pretty penny, as it looks like it's, holy crap, like, it's currently around $67? Is it not in stock at some places? Sheesh. Apparently there's a high demand for the Switch version. That's pretty crazy. Yikes. Hell, the Japanese version's over $60 on Amazon. What? That's pretty crazy. And of course, the PC version's full price unless you wait for some kind of sale or something. So definitely the PS4 version is looking like the better place to get a good price on it. I can take a look on eBay to see what kind of pricing we got now. But performance-wise, I can't speak for the Switch version because we're looking at the PS4 version, but I can tell you performance-wise, they're all similar to Builders 1, depending on the amount of stuff and things. They're on screen. Sometimes there can be some slowdown net. So, okay, there are some Switch copies around the 30, 40 price range on eBay, so definitely probably want to look there. Amazon's definitely upcharging on there, but still, it's in the higher end compared to the PS4 version. There is no Vita version as far as I'm aware of. I think by that time the Vita was pretty much abandoned, I believe. But let me check here just to make sure. I don't think there was a Vita version for 2. Nope, there was not a Vita version for 2. There was not. Nope. What a whip. So, for those who had the Vita for Builders 1, you'll be disappointed. But, fantastic game to check out. I highly recommend it. I really hope they take a lot of these ideas, because I love being able to have your own party, especially Monster Party members. I think that was a really good idea. Good idea. Very nice idea. But I really hope they can make a Builders 3, whether it'll have anything to do with the Eldritch trilogy or just be a whole new world itself. I really hope they don't let this side franchise die, because I really do enjoy it, and 2 was a big improvement. So, those are all my thoughts on the spoilers and everything and that. Hopefully, you found it helpful. If you feel like you learned anything interesting in the video, please feel free to leave a like. And if you feel like you learned nothing at all, feel free to leave a dislike. You're free. And feel free to leave a comment down below or message me on Twitch if you have any other further questions. But definitely check out Builders 2 for sure if you were iffy about Builders 1, because I think it will fill you with more confidence than what some people had to say about Builders 1. So, please make a sequel. I would really love it to be a sequel to the Eldritch series, because in an alternate timeline moving forward from 2, they could do so many different ideas. Like, that leaves a lot of interesting plot ideas, story ideas. They could do all kinds of things, unimaginably crazy things. So I really hope down the road we'll get a Builders 3. But whether it be that or something else, we'll only find out in time. Anyway, until next time, have a good day, everyone.